Oh my God. No! My list is wrong. Welcome to Tablenauts. My name is Max.
I'm Kenny.
And we're over here.
Doolin, Kyle, Emily, and Jash are joining us because this is a unique format that we're trying out for the first time. So please leave your comments and feedback down in the comments below.
Only if it's encouraging.
Only if it's encouraging. Encouragement only. We are gonna do a top 10 games of 2022 across 3 different videos. The first of which is gonna be me and Kenny. And them over there, the Peanut Gallery, is gonna react and commentate a little bit about what they agree with, don't agree with, good picks, bad picks, whatever, just for fun, just for laughs. And then you're gonna see Kyle and Jash do theirs, as well as the Doolins do theirs, all with us cycling in and out, and it should be a great time. So we hope you enjoy, and let's start this top 10 games of 2022 list off with my number 10, Cat in the Box.
We know. Never mind. It's fine.
Already, this is a problem. This is Cat in the Box, the quantum trick-taking game by Bezier Games. This is a really unique take on trick-taking in my opinion, because it is, most people play trick-taking and they have suits, but this is a suitless trick-taking game where when you play a card, you are assigning it a suit. So you assign it to red, yellow, blue, green, and basically, if you decide you want to play off suit, you can, but you're not allowed to play that color that you left for the rest of the round. And there's like an area control element where if you bet on the right amount of tricks you take and you win it, you also score an area control segment. There's also paradoxing when you can't play a trick, you blow up and get negative points for everything you've collected. It's just like, it's not overly complex, but there's a lot of little wrinkles that this game adds that to me makes it a more enjoyable trick-taking game as someone who's not really in love with the genre prior to this.
Yeah, so I'll say this is actually my number 7.
We should have talked.
You messed up.
You're supposed to interrupt me!
You were really talking real fast, so
You're on a roll.
I decided to just let you go with it.
But you'll hear more about
Act
this.
like a professional. Act like you've done this before.
All right, Kenny, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Planet Unknown, which is further higher on your list, I believe.
It is, yes, we'll talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it.
We're not going to talk about it. No, we're just saying it's higher up. We're going to talk about it later. We don't need to talk about things twice, Doolin. We're trying to speed it up.
Later.
We'll talk about it when it comes on my list, okay? All right.
Adam's apple.
You're number 10. You're number 10.
What's your number 3?
Number 9
Yeah, what's
is Planet Unknown.
Max's
And we can
number
talk
2?
about it right now. Gotcha!
Well, that was a long shot. That's a joke you guys won't understand.
All right, so we can talk about Planet Unknown.
So I've only played Planet Unknown once, and I tried
Same.
to pick all the games on my list. I've played at least a few times, but this one just really popped for me right away. I really like it's a polyomino game where you're laying down tiles, trying to find like the right combos, and which also has like the track element where you're trying to be efficient with the special actions you can take on the track. And so I really enjoyed like the playback between those two things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a great game. Again, I only played it once as well between Kenny and I agree with you on everything that you've said, but I also really, really like the addition of the shared objectives. And so it's objectives that are basically shared across the table, but not with everyone. It's not a card in the center of the table that says the first person to do this gets this many points. It's Kenny and I are fighting over this. And then Jash and I are fighting over this. And Doolin and I are fighting over anything, but Doolin and Jash and Doolin and Kenny are fighting over stuff. And I just really thought that was unique. And it allows you to chase an objective without also looking at 4 boards. It's like, it does kind of condense it down a bit. So you're like, I only care about this objective with Jash. So it's easy for me to see what he's got. It's easy for me to see what my objective with Kenny is. And I just thought it was really simple to follow, while also being a very meaty game at the same time.
Yeah, and I also really love the rondelle.
Yes, I mean,
what's it called? Not a rondelle.
No, Lazy Susan.
Yeah,
Lazy Susan.
I really have that work. It's kind of gimmicky, right? But like being able to move the tiles around and having that be like a central part of the game is like really.
Yeah, and it's it's something that you can focus on just drafting the things that you want, but you can also focus on hate drafting other people by making sure it doesn't align with their needs.
Yeah.
When I wanted, we were both chasing after rovers, and I was like, I want a rover, but I want to make sure I don't give Kenny a rover.
Yeah.
And so this is maybe a bad idea. All right, that's Planet Unknown. Kenny's number 10. Max is number 9. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Marble Dice Throne.
Okay.
So I haven't played my Marble Dice Throne in general up until this year, and I really enjoyed it. It's like, kind of like a...
Did you?
Yeah, well, not that one video. Since I played it, when I've rolled better, it's been more enjoyable.
Sure.
But no, even then when I lose terribly, it's still a fun game of like back and forth, and I think it's like fairly light, so it's just you don't take it too seriously. But.
Yeah, I bought just like a 2-person set, and Jash and I played it just the other day. I mean, I thought that was great fun. It's simple, Yahtzee, battling. It's just an enjoyable and fun game with not anything to me that's that like special. It doesn't jump out as incredible, but it's very solid.
Yeah, and I think the production is like beautiful as well.
For sure, Roxley knocks it out of the park every time.
Yeah, so I mean the Marvel IP helps a lot too. I think like Captain Marvel feels like Captain Marvel, Black Panther feels like Black Panther. It really hits.
Their unique abilities are very thematic.
Yeah,
absolutely. My number 8 is a game by Devious Weasel Games, designer Jim Felly. This is the mirroring of Mary King. Now, I think that Doolin and I are probably the only ones on this video that have ever played this game.
Yeah.
So
it's better than Cosmic Frog.
It's not.
It is.
But it is very
done,
good.
Jim
They're
Felly.
also incredibly different. Cosmic Frog is this wild and crazy area, not even area control,
We're
but
not talking
fighting
about
game.
that.
And this is a really condensed 2-player experience where you're just fighting over control of Mary King. So you have tiles that are basically like one side is full color, that is the human Mary King. One side is blue, that is the ghost Mary King. And you're playing cards that allow you to flip certain combinations of cards. And you earn points at the end of every round based off how many you have flipped. The other person has to discard cards. Your deck is like your hit points, your life, because if you run out of cards to play, you're done. So it's a matter of like trying to force people to discard cards while also trying to get as much flipped as you possibly can.
Right.
If you're able to ever force the other person to discard all their cards, get to the end of the game, or just entirely take control of her, you win. Just a really enjoyable, tight 2-player game in my opinion, that is just very unique. And it's another thing that Jim Felly does well.
Yeah.
All of his games are incredibly unique, and I really applaud him for that.
You're a small box guy.
I am a small box guy.
Yeah.
This is a small box.
It's truly smaller than Target.
It is definitely smaller than Target.
Readily available?
It should be soon.
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is readily available
2023
right
game.
this moment, but it should be soon. If not already. Hey, shut up. All right, that is my number 8, The Mirroring of Mary King.
So my number 8 came out really early this year, so I think a lot of people are forgetting about it, but it is Return to Dark Tower. So this is by Restoration Games.
I kind of forgot about it.
It's a big cooperative game with like a big stupid dark tower in the middle of the board. It basically acts as like mechanical gamekeeper in a way that kind of like spits out game elements that will change up how the board state a lot. Kind of plays like Pandemic in a lot of ways.
Yes, it does, but
it has
way
like,
cooler
Yeah, it has
and better.
really good app integration. It's kind of like Pandemic with like a lot of quests and.
Calm down. It's okay.
These dogs are having a wild time
He's
upstairs.
so mad right now.
At the dogs?
No, Kyle.
What?
Oh, it's just convenient. Now that the pandemic system is cool.
Yeah, Pandemic sucks.
Oh, but Dark
No.
Tower, which is pandemic.
He said it's kind of like the Pandemic system.
Just to be fair, I really like Pandemic, so.
Yeah,
Well, Kenny,
I'm
pro
pro-pandemic.
Well,
We all are.
yeah.
Just Max.
He had to be cool to Jeff. It's like he
That's
just
exactly-
I didn't like Pandemic before I knew Jeff.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true.
It's accurate.
Thank you, Jash.
He was wrong beforehand.
You're right.
I've been wrong for a long time.
But anyway.
I'm sorry, did you want to talk about your game?
I forgot all about it.
I think it's just something in the middle,
There's a tower.
and it's not bright.
Yeah,
It's like the
it's a
hot
dark
dog
tower.
chicken game.
It's not bright.
Oh my god.
It's a big flashy game.
It is.
It is like overproduced to the nines, right? But I think it's kind of the appeal of it.
We only had the pleasure, I only had the pleasure of playing it one time.
Yeah.
I did really like it. It is head down in the app, so like you're gonna use the app
Yeah.
a lot. And if it does not appeal to you, you should know right now that game's probably not for you.
Yeah, but I think that
mean-
it's also improved by that. Like I think.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it streamlines a lot of things and does things like you wouldn't probably be able to do in a board game without an app. So I think which
Agreed.
really makes it better in a way.
Yeah.
We should return to this sometime.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I agree.
All right.
Return to return. To
My number 7 of the year is going to appear on your list later, so we won't
Yeah.
talk about it, but we'll say it's Veil's Fate.
Woo!
Number 7 for me.
My number 7, we actually kind of talked about earlier, but we messed up.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is Cat in the Box.
Hey! What?
Yeah.
Cat in the Box? Number 7?
Yeah.
How many times have you played this?
I think 3 or 4 times with you guys.
Yeah? Okay.
But I love taking games, and this one, I think, this is like the first one in a while that's really stood out to me. It's like, wow, this is unique and has really cool mechanics. I think the production's really nice too.
I was going to say the same thing.
I think like it's like the core of it's pretty simple, right? Like it's a standard trick-taking game, but like adding that area control element really adds that extra bit to it, like where you have to kind of more to consider every round. Yeah, I really like it. So it's like my favorite, like straight up card game for the year. So
Yeah, I think so for me as well. It's a great game though.
yeah.
All right, my number 6, my numbers are wrong because I nixed my 10, so I'm confusing myself here. My 6 is Ivy Studios' Mythic Mischief. Now, this is a game that we've had the pleasure of playing together multiple times.
It's higher on my list too.
Never mind, we'll talk about it later. My number 6, Mythic Mischief.
My number 6 is Foundations of Rome.
Oh, I kind of forgot about that. I don't think it would have made my list, but I did forget about that one.
2 remakes, huh?
Yeah,
Is it a remake?
And Marvel
not-
Knights.
it's not a remake.
I thought it was a remake.
No.
What?
It's original design by Emerson Matsuuchi.
He's right.
I think it was a remake too.
No, he's right.
Max like a fourth dummy.
So it's kind of like I think everyone looks at the game and it's just like a huge overproduced game with like these buildings that are of Rome, and you're basically, the game itself is very simple, and I think that's one of the things I really like about it. It has like an elegant and simplicity to it, kind of like almost reminds me of like a Reiner Knizia design,
I agree with that.
where you're basically just trying to find ways to maximize points by laying out the buildings. And they could probably be easily just be like tiles, right? But
Yeah, but that's way cooler.
yeah, I think like having that board presence of like the big buildings that everyone kind of builds together, I think adds a lot to the game. And I think like it's okay for like lighter games to have like high production values.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's a game I really, really like. So.
It is a game, and I've said this before, I totally agree with you that it's okay for any game, rather, to have an abundance of production, a wildly overproduced game. But I do like and wish that it was available in a lesser production.
I agree.
Because that game is $300.
Yeah.
I mean,
200, yeah, probably.
200, 250, something like that. I mean, it's tough because it just cuts a lot of its audience out right away
I
at that
agree.
price point. So I do think it's a great game. I do think it is beautiful and it deserves to be beautiful. But I am someone who also wishes that most games were just also more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, and I think like, I mean, that box size just does limit in a lot of ways. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna bring lug that around to like, conventions or
Yeah.
to other people's houses. It's like, it's form factor limits in a lot of ways.
It is
Unfortunately.
absurd. All right, moving on. My number 5 is a game that I forgot about until I was talking about a different game, and I was like,
Started the video. and then
oh
we had to
my
restart.
gosh, it's Ready, Set, Bet.
Ah,
This is a betting horse racing game, and that's it. And it is very light in mechanics. You are making and placing bets on certain things. There are cards that are like unique, and they give you a little bit of different variability amongst players. Like one person may want to focus on this and blah blah blah. But like overwhelmingly, it is I think 6 is gonna win. Here's my highest dollar amount to go on 6, and that's it. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is that it is super simple. But I will 100% admit that this is a game that is going to be incredibly group dependent.
Yeah.
So this is a game that is going to shine with people that do not mind being wild and raucous and loud, and I don't mind that at all. And I leaned into it and had a blast and lost my voice. But if you are a company that just you're just kind of like there to really talk, but not like
Sure.
have a ton of fun, like this game's gonna fall flat. Like it very much requires that. In my
you want to
opinion.
play this game with the people you play Camel Up with.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Yeah.
that they're, or monikers or other raucous party games, the people that really get into things like that is where this is going to shine. And so it is going to be very group dependent, but I don't know that there are very few games that I can say have reached the level of fun that I had while playing Ready, Set, Bet. I mean, just straight up amounts of joy
Yeah.
playing that game.
Why not just gamble?
Because I don't have the money to gamble.
It's basically like horse racing meets craps table, like
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
So
It's the most Kentucky game on this list too.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are in horse country, so I mean, you gotta like it, right?
So my number 5 is, I think your number 7 is Mythic Mischief.
Yeah. Now you're number 6,
Oh, sorry.
Mythic Mischief.
So this is a abstract game. 2 to 4
I almost
players.
always say 2-player too,
Yeah.
but really it plays well at all player counts. I've played it at 2, 3, and 4 and enjoyed it very much each time.
Yeah, I think the first time we played it was at Origins with Kyle.
Yeah.
We played a 3-player game, got a demo of it, and I think like that was the moment like I just fell in love with the game. Right?
100%.
It was just like such a, like this one of those games like where just like it was kind of like a magical like game session. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just really clicked.
Yeah, we had an incredible session. The guy who taught us was super great, like
Yeah.
incredible. I mean, I legitimately stood up and power fist wooed after that game was over. And like Austin was there and I like high-fived him and I was like, yeah! Like, I mean, that was a one-of-a-kind
Can you give us a power
experience.
fist woo?
Woo! Just like that.
I lost the game, so I did not lose.
You did. It was the 3-player
Power
game.
fist boo.
Kyle and I like struggled to figure out what the solution was. And we were able to math it out and like use our abilities together. And that is where also one of the worst parts of Mythic Mischief
Yeah, I
comes into
agree.
play.
I think that like since I've played the game more and more, I think like some of the downsides have like become more apparent. Like
Agreed.
Like
this was like tops for me when I first played it, and it is obviously still very high at my number 6 of the year. But it did fall a bit because it is just, like you said, apparent. The AP is absurd sometimes, and Doolin and I want to play this in a chess clock type way, where we have a chess clock and are trying to beat this or play our turns out in 10 minutes or something. And I think that would be a unique and difficult challenge with how much this game just gets in your head. You want to
Yeah.
math out the turns.
And it's like there's so much spatial movement you have to take into
Mm-hmm.
account, and just like you have to plan the steps out. That can become a lot. But
It's chess if chess had walls and teleportation portals.
and you have to do 5 things at
and
once.
one guy that's trying to attack your king the entire time too. Like,
This is sounding less and less like chess.
well, I just mean that it's that abstract, but then there's wild other things that so much happening instead of just a chessboard. We're just moving one piece each time. Is all I'm saying.
I think that's why the chess clock would work.
100%. Yeah. Mythic Mischief, an excellent game.
Yep, I agree.
All right, my number 4. No, because now my numbers are right because I'm past Ready, Set, Bet. My number 4 of 2022 is actually a game that we've only played 2 times at this point, and very recently, and it is Feed the Kraken. This
Kraken.
is... You've not even played it, Kyle.
I know, but it was
You've
good.
not even played it, Kyle.
I get some trash stuff that I haven't.
We're the Muppet heads over here. Like,
Feed the Kraken is a hidden role deduction type game where you are either a pirate, a sailor, or a cultist / cult leader.
Yeah.
And you have objectives. And when I first saw this game, I was very worried because the map is almost too simple, as in everyone wants to go north.
Yeah.
It's only the last few movements you make that push you in pirate territory for victory for the pirates, or sailor territory, victory for the sailors, or the Kraken cultist victory. And it's like, I didn't think that was gonna work. I was really curious how that would work, but it does seem to play very well with those last few turns being very tense. And oh my gosh, who do we make the navigator here? This is a crucial bit of importance. And could this person have been turned by the cultist, which has happened, Emily, and it was incredible. Good play by you. And it's just one of those games that I want to play it more because I do think that I've barely scratched the surface of the actual strategy there. But I really had a good time, and it is a board gamey-ish social deduction. You have the entire element of the board, you have the mutiny guns, you have the actual passing of the things and saying, hey, you're the captain, you're the navigator, you're the lieutenant, whatever it is. And I really just think that it just worked really well for me, and one that I want to go back to time and time again.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. It reminds me of like social deduction games like Resistance or Secret Hitler, but just like kind of sprawled out a bit and bigger, which I think is fine and I enjoyed. But yeah, I think sometimes like the board presence of it might push people off of it a bit because I think social deduction games can be so simple to
Without anything at all.
Right. But I think I think it's still a great game and I would definitely play it again. So
Yeah, absolutely. That is Feed the Kraken.
My number 4 is, I think, higher on your list as well, but it's Oathsworn.
It is, but it's just my number 3. So let's go ahead and discuss it right now. My number 3, your number 4. This is Oathsworn.
Yeah, so Oathsworn is like a big campaign level game. I think like people compare it a lot to other big campaign games like Gloomhaven, but it really kind of stands on its own as like this big boss battler game.
Agreed.
Where you're kind of like having a big story section and then the actual fight. And, you know, I think the narrative alone is, I think, probably the thing that draws me in the most.
I think it is probably the best narrative, whatever, in any kind of story game that I've played, board game.
Yeah.
I know I've not played the Tainted Grails, I've not played the Aetherfields or whatever else Awakened Realms has done.
Yeah.
It's still up there for me.
Who's the narrator? I forget.
It's Jorah Mormont. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not.
Who's
That's
that?
not his real
From Game
name,
of
but
Thrones? Oh, yeah.
Jorah Mormont from Game of Thrones. That guy is
Yeah.
who narrates it.
Yeah, and like the narration in the app is excellent because of it. But I think like the story they built behind it, they are willing to take like daring things per story, right? Like every like mission 3, things just get turned upside down.
Yeah.
Right? It's pretty wild.
I know.
Yeah, we can't talk about it.
We
but,
can't.
But it is. I mean, just even like think of like in a game of like 20 missions, by mission 3, things just get wild, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really, you know, the fact that they're willing to take these steps with the story and take these daring leaps is pretty cool. So,
Yeah, 100%. And we've played 4
Yeah.
at this point. So there's still a lot left to uncover in this game. I expect there's a lot more surprises around each and every corner. This is a game where you're opening up hidden envelopes and boxes, but you're also just being greeted with new mechanics and different things. We were in a city for the first few sections, and then it opened up and we're like, oh, this is not how
Different.
it went last time.
Yeah.
And so it really does seem to just change things up in a very fun and refreshing way. It is very much a boss battler. If you do not enjoy the 60 to 90 minutes of battling one thing, probably not for you, but for me,
Yeah.
I mean, I found the phases they go through and the difference of people that we were fighting was really unique and interesting.
Yeah, agreed.
Oathsworn, my number 3, your number 4. Go ahead with your number 3.
My number 3 is Veiled Fate.
Okay, yeah, so it finally came back. It was number 7 for me.
Yeah.
And this is Veiled Fate, another game by IB Studios.
Yeah, they've had a good year.
They have had a good year. This is a very unique social deduction game, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it social deduction game.
It's hard.
It's like a deduction game.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the idea is that like you have a persona that you're trying to manipulate around the map, complete objectives, and get points. But you can not only can you manipulate your character on the map, but you can move everyone else's pieces too. And you never know whose pieces are actually whose. So you have to keep track of like what Jash is doing, what
Green.
Be green,
You were not her.
or what
We were
Kyle's
all
doing,
green.
right? And I think just
On
that
this bus today.
dynamic of trying to unravel what's happening on the board versus like knowing when to move your piece and when not to is I think is really interesting. So,
Yeah, and I do think that you can kind of play it however you want. Like you can move yours and lie and try and
Yeah.
make people think that you are moving that. Like Jash was constantly moving green and he was lying.
Yeah.
He wasn't green, but he absolutely could have been. And like
Should have been.
we still wouldn't have
I
done.
was green in my heart.
We also played for the first time. We played this at 7 today, which at 6, 7, and 8 you are playing in teams. And at 7, there were 3 teams of 2 and 1 person who was just by themselves.
Yeah.
And that was a very unique experience. I'm not sure what I preferred, but there was far more confusion in a
Yeah.
7-player game because so much is happening. But it really did seem to come together at the end, in which I was like, Aaron's by purple. And you all, Doolin and Kenny, were like, we're each other's teammate as well. And so it's like you start and you're like, no way am I ever gonna figure out who's who. And then it ultimately kind of worked out itself to where we figured it out. And it was really fun.
Yeah, and I love like that there's subtlety to this game too, like because you can't really come outright and say like I'm that color, because if you do, like your opponent's going to like start moving that character around to getting negative points. But I love the subtlety of like you notice that your partner moved that character once at a key moment, and that was a bold move. Like why would you do it then? I think I like that kind of dynamic in the game. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Another great game. This is definitely one that I think everyone should try, but I think it's going to be a polarizing one as far as whether or not you enjoy it.
Really?
But I mean, for us, it's a hit, absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking to you,
Kellen,
dummy.
you don't like it.
I'm just kidding. I love you.
All right, my number 2. Are you on your number 2 as well?
Yeah.
Where'd I go? Oh, it's right there. Wait, what is this for you?
2.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
my gosh.
Combined number 2.
Our number 2 is Wonderland's War. This is by Druid City Games and Skybound Tabletop. This is an Alice in Wonderland area control bag builder, push your luck extraordinaire.
Yeah.
I think it earns that title. It is big,
Mammoth. Yeah.
beautiful, but ultimately it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, production overall is just beautiful too.
Yeah,
It's
absurd.
I think
It
like,
helps that they're well painted by Kenny here. Thank you,
thank you.
Kenny.
and it really leans into that fact too.
Just kiss.
Just make out already.
Not ready for that on camera.
Sorry, we can do
Even
that.
with the box, you can see Kenny ducking out of the way.
Wonderland's War is a game that's played in 2 phases. You have a tea party phase and a war phase. During the tea party phase, you're going to be drafting cards, which give you different chips to go in your bag or other benefits on your player board or whatever it may be. Then you go to a war phase where you're fighting over 5 different regions inside this beautiful Alice in Wonderland. I guess it's Wonderland.
Yeah.
Over Wonderland. And basically, you're just earning victory points for winning, coming in second, whatever it may be. But you're drawing out of your bag, you're busting, you're doing a ton of different things, and ultimately, it's just a very enjoyable game.
Yeah. I mean, I love the push your luck.
Said busting, and they lost it.
I didn't.
I looked at Jash immediately to see if he had something.
All we have to do is talk about a push your luck game. Be like, I busted, and everyone's just like. Me too, though. I mean, if I weren't on camera, I would have been doing it too. So I get it.
Well, it's a really good game about busting and drawing chips.
Gosh.
Buster.
Come on.
Oh man, what is there to say about this game other than that?
Nothing else.
Can you bust?
Can you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can bust.
Are you finished?
Oh my gosh.
Not yet. This was number 2. We're almost finished.
Did you say anything about like the game mechanics at all?
I did.
Oh, okay, go.
Were you not listening?
You're thinking of busting jokes.
Give us a good outro in case we need to like cut a handful of
Okay,
that.
in case we need to cut because I said bust one too many times.
Just the once.
Once is too many.
All your leaders also have like a variety of abilities, so they all play very uniquely. I know that during the second printing of this, they are slightly updating both the Mad Hatter and the Jabberwock because they are probably the highest and lowest as far as power level in the game. But it's just really cool because, you know, you can play with Alice who gets to move around backwards around the table, like break it basically. You can play the Mad Hatter who can take another card rather than being added to the battle. You can take the Jabberwock who poisons certain cards so he can kind of guarantee that he gets the cards that he wants during the tea party phase. But it's just a lot of unique mechanics that are inside of them. And then you have all of the Wonderlandians, which add unique and new elements to every single fight that you're in. They can give you new chips to your bag. They can be actual things and miniatures that go into areas and give you power or whatever. There's just a lot in this box, but it is worth pulling out.
Yeah, and I think like you're not going to see everything that the game has to offer in one go, just because of all the different Wonderlandians and all the different chips.
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
So I think there's a lot.
There's
to
also
this.
4 sets of main chips.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they do, you know, the roses. One game can do this, another game will do this, another game will do this, another game will do that. So it's like so much variability involved.
Yeah, and just how you can approach the strategy, building out your bag and stuff is it's kind of boggles the mind in terms of like what you can do in the game every time you sit down with it.
Yeah,
So
incredible game. But only our number 2.
only number 2.
Only our number 2. Now, Kenny, might I ask, as the two smartest people
Yeah.
on the Tablenauts YouTube
I would say
channel,
this is the best list, right?
I think this has to
Yeah.
be the best list.
So you matched at 7 out of 10.
Maybe if you didn't put this one at the top.
We matched a lot, and I
Yeah.
think this one at the top makes
right.
it instant number 1 list. Let us know after you've watched all 3 videos, which lists did you like most? But for our number 1, our shared number 1, our buddy cop movie number 1, this is the Pandemonium Institute's Blood on the Clock Tower.
One night?
Why did we invite him?
Jash, your joke.
Oh, sorry. Clock Tower. I hardly know her.
What's the peanut galleries? Calm down.
Gallery. I hardly know her.
So Blood on the Clock Tower is a big social deduction game.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, it's
It is very
massive.
large.
But it's like a social deduction game that has a lot of complexity to it, and that's kind of built into the game. I remember the first time I saw videos for it, I thought, I'm never going to play this game, right?
I thought the same.
Because you need a GM that's going to run it. You have to have at least 8 or 9 people that are willing to play a game of this complexity in the genre that's usually pretty simple, right? So I thought, I'm never going to play this game. But then like I saw like the No Rules Bars video come out, the playthroughs of it, and I just like fell in love with it then.
I think I probably watched 20 playthroughs before I ever bought the game myself. And it was one of those, I remember a conversation I had with Kyle where we were in the Discord chatting and I was like, guys, do I buy Blood on the Clock Tower? He was like, no. That's
I stand by that.
That's
by
an
the way.
idiotic purchase. You're never going to play it. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. But like something about this game kind of like lit a fire where I was like, I'm gonna play it. Like
Yeah.
I will organize plays. I will find people. And I mean, we have ultimately. We play online in the Discord. We've played in person. It's just been a blast every single time. And I'm very thankful that like we decided to actually give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm glad you like were so passionate about it because this is not a game I would try to push to play just because it takes a lot to get this table. It's like trying to play like an RPG times 2, right? You're just getting a group together for it. But yeah, it's really surprised me just like how much I liked it and just how easily it is to just kind of like get wrapped into it so quickly.
So this is a social deduction game that is just a notch above what you're typically used to. A number of different like possibilities of characters that are thrown in, all having wildly unique abilities. There is, like you said, like a game master, a storyteller who actually has to run the game, and they have to make actual decisions that will impact the game and try and be as fair as possible, whatever it may be.
And they're not even like it's not even like a game of skill in a way. It's really just like they're trying to build to the best possible ending,
Yeah, like
right?
as someone who storytells regularly, my goal is to basically get the game to last until there's 3 people alive.
Yeah.
If I can do that, I mean, to clarify, if someone makes a good play, I'm going to reward them for that play. Like if Evil Team makes a good play, I'm not going to say, oh well, I want to get it down to 3 alive. Like let's whatever. If I can do that and be fair about it, I'm going to get it down to 3 lives to where it all culminates into a very exciting ending moment.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of unique things you have to do, especially in the harder and more difficult scripts. We typically play Troubled Brewing, though we do have some experience with Bad Moon Rising. And there's just so much in this box. Now, it's an expensive game. It's a giant game. And it's hard to table. So this is certainly a game that is just gonna be like, you need to know whether it's for you or not. Like I cannot recommend everyone go buy this game. That's ridiculous, I can't do that. We will eventually have a full review on this, get into more of why we love it and mechanisms and whatever. But I think the one thing that I can just say about Blood on the Clock Tower that has made me fall so deeply in love with this game is like, as someone who used to love Why Not Ultimate Werewolf, who used to love Mafia, who used to love those things, and then genuinely got to a point in my life where I was like, those days are gone. Like, that's fine. I'm just not playing social deduction games anymore. Those days are long gone. And then for this to come and knock me off my seat and like knock Danielle out, like she loves Blood on the Clock Tower. Like, this is a game that even when we're playing online, whatever it may be, we'll finish playing and Danielle will text me and be like, come chat, I need to debrief.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what happened in that game for like a half an hour. Like, oh, this person could have done that, and I did this, and that was so incredible, and that was so wild, and I just don't think I've ever had a game do that to me.
Yeah, I think that's like, the game creates stories, right? It creates like memories of like, cause I can remember like the first, played like, I don't know, probably 15, 20 games of this at this point.
Yeah, I'm probably up to 25, yeah.
Yeah, but I can remember so many of the games and what happened and the betrayals and just like the crazy interactions that happen. And I think this game just creates like so many of these cool moments that I love, so.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our Kenny and Max's collective #1 board game of 2022 on what is to be the best list of the Tablenauts best board games of 2022. Why are they so mean?
They all played it today.
your
I think they
fault.
enjoyed it too.
That was a chirp at us, and we just disagreed.
He's right, you know.
So rude.
Hey, you're stupid. No, you're wrong. Why are they so mean?
I didn't say you were stupid. I didn't say that. What I did say though is this is the best board game of 2022. Thank you for watching. Tune in for the future videos in which you're gonna see the Doolins and Kyle and Jash do theirs, and then we get a turn. We get a turn at annoying the crap out of them. I hope you enjoyed this new format, because I didn't.